The galaxy had always feared Sector 7 Alpha for as long as anyone could remember. Ships that went too close to that dark part of space never came back. No radio calls for help. No pieces of broken ships floating around. No survivors to tell what happened. The area got a scary name among all the space-traveling people. They called it the Dead Zone. Every star map had big red warnings telling ships to stay at least 5 light-years away from it. For 300 years, the big powers in the galaxy had lived in an uneasy peace. The Zeltharian Empire with their proud warriors, the Keth Confederacy with their smart scientists, and the Vorthan Trade Alliance with their rich merchants, they all stayed away from each other, partly because the Dead Zone sat right between their territories, like a giant wall made of empty space. Nobody wanted to claim that cursed region. It was like a graveyard in space that kept old enemies from fighting each other. When news first came about a new species from the edge of the galaxy, the Galactic Council barely paid attention. Another simple civilization learning how to travel faster than light was nothing special. It happened all the time. These humans seemed very ordinary. They walked on 2 legs, needed oxygen to breathe, and their technology looked weak and basic. Their spaceships were rough and ugly. Their weapons were simple. When they tried to talk to other species, they seemed clumsy and unsure. But something strange caught the Council's attention. These humans were doing something no other species had ever done. Instead of staying far away from the Dead Zone, like every smart civilization, these newcomers were building colonies right next to its borders. They were setting up homes and bases in the most dangerous neighborhood in the galaxy. The council members talked about this weird behavior. Some thought the humans were just too stupid to understand the danger. Others believed maybe the humans were so desperate for space that they had no choice but to live in such a risky place. When the council asked the humans why they chose such dangerous locations, the human representatives gave simple answers. They said they were just looking for good opportunities in unused space. The answer made some council members laugh. Unused space. The Dead Zone was unused because it killed everyone who went there. These humans talked about it like they were shopping for a new house in a quiet neighborhood. Ambassador Kethvar from the Zeltharian Empire was curious about these strange beings. He read reports about humans and found something interesting. These creatures seemed to bounce back from problems very quickly. When bad things happened to them, they found ways to fix the problems and keep going. This could make them good friends to have, or very dangerous enemies to fight. Trademaster Zenith from the Vorthan Alliance was also watching the humans closely. He cared mostly about making money, and he wondered if these humans had something valuable to trade. Maybe they knew secrets that could make him rich. Captain Zelthkor from the Keth Confederacy looked at the humans from a military point of view. His people were always studying new weapons and defense systems. If the humans could somehow survive near the Dead Zone, maybe they had new technology that the Keth could learn from. Months passed, and the council kept getting reports about human activity. The humans were not just living near the Dead Zone. They were sending ships into it. Small ships with heavy shields would disappear into the dark nebula and then come back out again. This was impossible. Every other species had tried to explore the Dead Zone over the centuries. The best scientists, the bravest pilots, the strongest ships, they all vanished without a trace. But these primitive humans were going in and coming out like they were taking a simple trip to visit friends. The council members started having secret meetings to discuss what this might mean. Some worried that the humans had found something valuable inside the Dead Zone and were keeping it secret. Others thought maybe the humans had made a deal with whatever was killing ships in there. A few even wondered if the humans were somehow controlling whatever danger lived in that dark space. The more they watched, the more confused they became. The humans kept sending regular flights into the Dead Zone. Their ships would go in empty and come out, full of supplies and equipment. It looked like they were building something in there, but that was impossible. Nothing could survive in the Dead Zone long enough to build anything. Finally, the council decided they needed to know the truth. They would make official contact with humanity and try to learn their secrets. If the humans had found a way to safely travel through the most dangerous region in the galaxy, that knowledge could change everything. It could open up new trade routes, new places to live, new resources to use. But first, they needed to understand what they were dealing with. These humans might look simple and weak, but they were doing something that the galaxy's greatest civilizations had never managed to do. They were surviving in the Dead Zone, and that made them very interesting indeed. The decision was made. The council would send ambassadors to meet with humanity and learn what they knew about the mysterious region that had claimed so many lives over the centuries. Ambassador Kethvar from the Zeltharian Empire was the first to speak up about making contact with the humans. He had been reading intelligence reports for weeks, and what he found made him both excited and worried. These humans were not acting like other new species that joined the galaxy. Most newcomers were scared and tried to hide from the big powers, but humans seemed different. Kethvar stood up in the great council chamber, his tall blue body casting long shadows under the bright lights. Around him sat representatives from dozens of species, all waiting to hear what he had discovered about these strange beings from the edge of space. Fellow council members, Kethvar began, his voice echoing in the huge room. I have been watching the humans for 3 months now. What I have learned should concern us all. He pressed a button on his control pad, and a large screen showed images of human ships near the dead zone. The other council members leaned forward to get a better look. They have been sending ships into the dead zone every week, Kethvar continued. Not robot ships like we expected, but ships with real people inside. Small ships with thick armor, but they keep coming back alive. Trademaster, Zenith, a short, green creature with 4 arms, made a surprised sound. His people, the Vorthans, cared most about making money from trade. If someone could safely travel through the dead zone, it could open up amazing new business opportunities. Coming back? Zenith asked, his voice high with excitement. You mean they are surviving trips through the zone? Not just surviving, Kethvar said, showing more pictures on the screen. They are making maps of it. Our spy satellites can see their ships flying in regular patterns inside the nebula. Whatever is in there that destroys our ships, the humans, have found a way to avoid it or defeat it. The council chamber became very quiet. Every member was thinking about what this meant. For 300 years, the galaxy's smartest people had tried to figure out what made the dead zone so deadly. Some thought it had gravity fields so strong they could crush ships into tiny pieces. Others believed it had dangerous radiation that would burn through any shield and kill everyone inside. A few whispered stories about ancient war machines left behind by a civilization that disappeared long ago. Captain Zelthkor from the Keth Confederacy spoke next. His people were known for their military skills and love of new weapons. If the humans can regularly travel through the zone, they either have technology much better than ours, or they know something we do not. An old council member from the Altarian Republic raised one of his 6 hands. Perhaps they are simply lucky. Maybe they found a safe path through the dangers. Kethvar shook his head. Our long-distance scanners show dozens of human ships going different ways through the zone every day. This is not luck, this is knowledge. Trademaster Zenith was already thinking about profits. We must learn their secrets. If we could use the dead zone for travel, it would cut travel time between our territories by half. The trade benefits would be enormous. But Captain Zelthkor was thinking about war. Or it could be a trap. What if the humans are not avoiding the dangers in the dead zone? What if they are controlling them? This idea made everyone even more quiet. The thought that a species could control whatever killed ships in the dead zone was both amazing and terrifying. Ambassador Kethvar brought up more images on the screen. These showed human settlements near the dead zone's borders. Look at how they build their colonies. Every human base has its main communication dishes pointing toward the dead zone, not toward the rest of the galaxy. They are talking to someone or something in there. A female representative from the Crystalline Collective made a clicking sound with her crystal body. Perhaps we are thinking about this wrong. What if there is nothing dangerous in the dead zone at all? What if the humans created the dangers to keep us away? The idea hit the council like a physical blow. If the humans had been making ships disappear for centuries, it meant they had been in the galaxy much longer than anyone realized. It meant they had been watching and studying all the major civilizations while pretending to be newcomers. That is impossible, said the Altarian representative. We would have detected their presence long ago, would we? Asked Kethvar. If they were good enough at hiding, we might never have noticed them until they wanted us to. Trademaster Zenith was getting more excited by the minute. Hidden or not, they have something we need. We must make contact and learn their methods. Captain Zelthkor was more careful. Contact, yes, but we must be ready for anything. If the humans have been deceiving the galaxy for centuries, they are much more dangerous than they appear. Debate continued for hours, but in the end, the decision was clear. The council had to know the truth about the dead zone and humanity's connection to it. The knowledge could change everything about how the galaxy worked. The vote was unanimous. They would send ambassadors to make official contact with humanity and try to learn their secrets. But they would go carefully, ready for surprises. Nobody in the council chamber realized they were about to discover that the biggest surprise was still waiting for them. Captain Kim Soo, of the UES Meridian, was sitting in his command chair when the message arrived. The big alien ships were coming to talk, just like the secret planners back on Earth had predicted they would. Kim read the formal diplomatic message on his screen and allowed himself a small smile. After watching the galaxy for so long, humanity was finally ready to meet their neighbors face to face. The alien ships arrived 3 days later with a show of power that was meant to scare the humans. The Zeltharian flagship was massive, easily 10 times bigger than any human ship the aliens had seen. Its dark metal hull was covered with weapon ports and sensor arrays that glowed with threatening energy. The Keth destroyer looked like a giant sword made of metal, sharp and deadly. The Vorthon trade vessel was round and fat, but Kim knew it carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. "Impressive," said Lieutenant Park Min, Kim's second in command, as she watched the alien fleet through the main screen. "They really want us to know how strong they are." Kim nodded but did not look worried. "Let them show off. We have our own surprises." The formal message came through the communication system in perfect Korean, which surprised Kim until he remembered that these aliens had been watching human transmissions for months. They had learned human languages just like humans had learned theirs many years ago. "We are honored by your presence," Captain Kim transmitted back in the common galactic language. "We welcome the chance to learn about each other." The aliens wanted to hold their meeting on the Zeltharian flagship. This was another power move, forcing the humans to come to them and see how advanced their technology was. Kim agreed politely and took a small shuttle over to the massive alien ship. The inside of the Zeltharian flagship was designed to impress visitors. The corridors were huge and filled with holographic displays, showing the military might of their empire. Alien soldiers in powered armor stood at attention as Kim and his diplomatic team walked past. Everything was meant to make humans feel small and weak, but Kim and his people acted like they were taking a simple tour of a museum. They looked at everything with polite interest but showed no fear or amazement. This confused the aliens, who expected the primitive humans to be frightened by their superior technology. The meeting took place in a grand chamber with a long table made of some kind of glowing crystal. Ambassador Kethfar sat at the head of the table, his tall blue form meant to look important and powerful. Trademaster Zenith sat to his right, his forearms folded in a gesture that Kim recognized as aggressive among his people. Captain Zelthkor sat across from them, his red eyes studying the humans carefully. "We understand you have been exploring the region we call the Dead Zone," Ambassador Kethfar began, speaking slowly like he was talking to children. "We must warn you that this area is very dangerous. Many ships have been lost there over the centuries." Kim nodded seriously. "Yes, we have read the historical records in your public databases. Very sad losses. We are grateful that you care about our safety." The way Kim said it made it sound like he was thanking adults for worrying about him, but there was something in his tone that suggested he was not really worried at all. Trade-Master Zenith leaned forward with his forearms on the table. "Perhaps you could share how you travel safely through the zone. Such knowledge could help all our civilizations avoid future tragedies." Kim tilted his head thoughtfully. "I am afraid our methods are very specific to human biology and our technology. What works for us might not work well for your species." This was clearly not the answer the aliens wanted. They had come here expecting to trade their advanced technology for human secrets. But the human captain was politely refusing to share anything useful. "Surely you could explain some basic principles." Captain Zelthkor pressed, his military training making him direct. "We have much we could offer in return." Kim smiled, but Lieutenant Park noticed that the smile did not reach his eyes. It was the kind of smile their trainers had taught them to use when they were being polite but did not trust someone. "Perhaps we could arrange something better," Kim said, his voice staying friendly. "We would be happy to escort one of your ships through the zone. That way, you could see our methods with your own eyes." The three aliens looked at each other. This was an amazing opportunity, but also very risky. If the humans were planning to trap them, taking their ships into the Dead Zone would be the perfect place to do it. But if the humans were telling the truth, they would finally learn the secrets they needed. Ambassador Kethfar spoke for all of them. "This is a generous offer. We accept." Kim stood up and bowed slightly, a human gesture of respect. "Excellent. We can begin preparations immediately. I think you will find the journey very educational." As the humans left the alien flagship, Lieutenant Park whispered to her captain, "Do you think they suspect anything?" Kim watched the massive alien ships through the shuttle window. "They suspect we are hiding something, but they have no idea what. Soon they will understand that everything they thought they knew about the galaxy is about to change." The trap was set. Now it was time to spring it. The day of the big journey arrived, with 3 alien ships waiting at the edge of the Dead Zone. The Zeltharian scout ship looked like a metal bird with sharp wings. The Keth destroyer was long and thin, like a giant spear floating in space. The Vorthan research ship was round and covered with sensors that blinked like Christmas lights. Next to these impressive alien vessels, the 3 human ships looked almost like toys, small, simple, and not very threatening. Captain Kim Soo spoke into his radio from the lead human ship. "Follow our path exactly. Stay in formation behind us and do not change course for any reason. The Dead Zone can be very unforgiving to those who make mistakes." The alien captains agreed, though Captain Zelthkor from the Keth destroyer sounded nervous. "Understood, human vessel. We will follow your lead." As the small fleet moved toward the dark nebula, the alien ships immediately started detecting the same deadly problems that had killed so many vessels before. Their computers began screaming warnings about gravity fields that could crush ships, energy waves that could fry all electronics, and space distortions that could tear hulls apart. But the human ships moved forward like they were taking a pleasant trip through empty space. Their engines hummed quietly, their shields barely glowed, and their crews seemed relaxed. "How are you navigating through this nightmare?" Captain Zell demanded over the radio. His ship's sensors were showing readings that should have meant instant death. "Our computers are detecting massive gravity storms ahead." Captain Kim's voice came back calm and steady. "Please adjust your sensor settings to match ours. We are sending you the correct frequencies now. You will find the readings much more accurate." The alien ships quickly changed their sensor settings to match the human specifications. As their instruments recalibrated, the truth began to appear on their screens. What they had thought were natural gravity storms were actually artificial mass drivers, huge machines that could push and pull objects through space. The dangerous energy waves were controlled plasma cannons firing in careful patterns. But space distortions were the energy signatures of enormous cloaked space stations. Trademaster Zenith's voice came over the radio, high and shocked. "This is impossible. These are not natural phenomena. The dead zone is artificial." "Not artificial," Captain Kim corrected, and now his voice carried a note of pride that had not been there before. "Engineered. Welcome to humanity's first and largest military base outside of Earth's solar system." As if responding to Kim's words, the dark nebula around them began to change. The thick clouds of gas and dust started to move apart like giant curtains being pulled back. What the aliens saw behind those curtains made their crews gasp in amazement and fear. Massive space stations hung in the black void like metal cities. Each one bristled with weapons that looked powerful enough to crack planets in half. Shipyards stretched 4 kilometers in every direction, and inside them, the aliens could see vessels being built that used technology far beyond anything humanity had shown to the galaxy. Defensive platforms numbered in the thousands, their weapon systems now turning to track the alien visitors, like the eyes of giant predators. But the most shocking sight was the ships themselves. Hundreds of human vessels moved through the hidden base, and none of them looked like the simple, primitive craft the aliens had seen before. These ships were sleek and deadly, covered with armor and weapons that made the alien vessels look outdated. "Impossible," whispered Ambassador Kethvar from his scout ship. "How long have you been building this?" Captain Kim's answers sent chills through every alien crew member. "For 3 centuries, your civilizations have avoided this region. That gave us all the time we needed to build, to prepare, to study exactly what we would be dealing with when we finally met galactic civilization. You see, we did not just stumble into the galaxy as confused newcomers. We have been watching you for a very long time." Lieutenant Park Min, standing beside Kim on the bridge of the human ship, watched the alien reactions on their communication screens. The Zeltharians were trying to calculate whether they could fight their way out. The Keth were already backing away, their engines powering up for an emergency jump to safety. The Vorthans were recording everything, probably planning to sell the information to whoever would pay the most. "You have been spying on us," Captain Zelthkori said, his voice mixing anger with fear. "For centuries, you have been deceiving the entire galaxy." "Not deceiving," Kim replied. "Preparing. We learned about your wars, your politics, your strengths and weaknesses. We saw how you treated newcomers to the galaxy. We decided it would be better to understand you completely before we revealed ourselves." The aliens stared at the massive military installation around them. Weapons that could destroy fleets pointed at their small ships. Thousands of human personnel went about their duties on stations that had been hidden for centuries. The dead zone had never been a natural danger. It had been humanity's greatest secret. "What do you want from us?" Trademaster Zenith asked, his voice small and frightened. Captain Kim smiled, but it was not a cruel smile. "We want you to understand that everything you thought you knew about humanity, about the galaxy, about the balance of power, is about to change forever." Deep inside the largest space station, Admiral Lee Jun sat in a command center that looked like the bridge of a ship from the future. Dozens of screens showed him everything happening around the alien vessels. His officers watched the reactions of the 3 alien crews with professional interest. The Zeltharians were running battle calculations while trying to look calm. The Kith were slowly moving their destroyer backward, ready to jump away at the first sign of trouble. The Vorthians were busy recording everything they could see, probably thinking about how much money this information would be worth. Admiral Lee pressed a button, and his face appeared on screens inside all 3 alien ships. He was an older man, with gray hair and kind eyes, but there was something about him that made it clear he was very dangerous. "You are wondering why we are showing you this," Admiral Lee said, his voice calm and friendly. "Why we are revealing our secret after hiding it for so many years." The alien captains stayed quiet, but Lee could see them thinking hard. They were trying to figure out if this was a trap, if they were about to be destroyed, or if the humans wanted something from them. "The answer is simple," Lee continued. "The galaxy is about to face a threat that will change everything. Our intelligence networks have discovered that the Andromedans will arrive within the next 10 years. When they come, the current way things work in the galaxy will not survive." This news hit the aliens like a physical blow. The Andromedans were a legend, a scary story that parents told children about monsters from another galaxy. But if the humans were right, if the Andromedans were real and coming, then every civilization in the galaxy was in terrible danger. The Zeltharian Empire is too proud and set in its ways, Admiral Lee explained, looking directly at Ambassador Keth. When the Andromedans come with new tactics and weapons, your traditional military will not be able to adapt fast enough. Ambassador Kethvar wanted to argue, but he knew the Admiral was right. His people had been using the same battle strategies for centuries. The Keth Confederacy is too broken apart, Lee continued, turning his attention to Captain Zel. Your different groups spend too much time fighting each other to work together against a real threat. Captain Zelthkori's red face grew darker with anger, but he could not deny the truth of those words. And the Vorthan Trade Alliance cares too much about making money, Lee finished, looking at Trademaster Zenith. When the Andromedans arrive, they will not be interested in trade deals. They will want to conquer everything. Trademaster Zenith shifted uncomfortably in his chair. His people had grown soft and rich, more interested in profits than fighting. You are telling us we cannot defend ourselves, Ambassador Kethvar said, his voice tight with controlled anger. But you humans can. Admiral Lee smiled, but it was not a mocking smile. We are telling you that none of us can defend ourselves alone. The Andromedans destroyed their own galaxy before coming here. They have weapons and ships that make our best technology look like stone tools. Captain Kim's voice came through the communication system from his ship. The escort mission is complete. Your vessels are free to leave and return to your governments. But remember, everything you have seen here, everything you have learned, comes with a responsibility. The secret of the dead zone is now yours to keep or share. Choose carefully. But Admiral Lee was not finished. He pressed another button, and new images appeared on the screens inside the alien ships. These showed other parts of the galaxy, other regions of space that had been marked as dangerous or impossible to navigate. The dead zone was our first installation, but it was not our last, Lee said. Over the past 3 centuries, we have built similar bases throughout the galaxy. Every navigation hazard that has appeared in the last 100 years, every unexplored nebula that ships avoid, every dangerous asteroid field that blocks trade routes, we built them all. The aliens stared in shock as dozens of hidden human bases revealed themselves across the galaxy. Each one was positioned in a strategic location where it could control important trade routes or defend key systems. The humans had not just built one secret fortress, they had built an entire hidden empire. This is impossible, whispered Captain Zelthkori. You have been surrounding us for centuries. Not surrounding, Admiral Lee corrected. Protecting, every human base was built to defend this galaxy from outside threats. We saw the signs of the Andromedan approach long before your civilizations detected them. Trademaster Zenith found his voice again. What do you want from us? We want you to survive, Lee answered simply. We are not interested in ruling the galaxy or destroying your civilizations. We want to work together to build a defense that can stop the 3 alien ships sat in stunned silence as they processed what they had learned. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted completely. Humanity was not a weak newcomer species. They were the strongest military force in the galaxy, and they had been preparing for war for centuries. The choice is yours, Admiral Lee said, as the alien ships prepared to leave. You can go back to your governments and continue the old ways, or you can work with us to face what is coming. The trap had been perfect, but it was never meant to catch the aliens. It was meant to catch the Andromedans when they arrived, and now the galaxy finally had a chance to survive.